Hello, this is Mike at Gamefromscratch, and welcome to a completely random look at Project Rider EAP. Now, that EAP is super important to understanding this video because that means early access preview. So this is a pre-beta, basically. Although that's a little misleading because this is a very mature product, but expect bugs. So this is not a product that is out on the market yet. So this is by no means a review, period. So this is not indicative of the finished product, and I want to bang that point home completely. But I do want to put this video out there so people that are wondering what it is all about, thinking about downloading it or have some interest in it, or possibly have never heard of it, will be exposed to the world of Project Rider, which is also an in-development name, so who knows what this is going to be called when it is done. Now, you may be wondering what the heck is a Project Rider, and that's a very good question. It is a C# IDE from NetBrains, and NetBrains are the guys behind IntelliJ, WebStorm, PHP Storm, etc., etc. Basically, they make some of the best cross-platform IDEs available, and now they've set their sights on C#. And that, again, is also a little bit misleading because they've been making C# tools for ages. They make Resharper, which is a refactoring plugin for Visual Studio, often viewed as possibly the best refactoring tool on the market. So what they've done, basically, is taken IntelliJ, their cross-platform Java-based IDE framework, and smashed in Resharper's functionality to make a C# IDE. So basically they're going head-to-head with Visual Studio, MonoDevelop, and Xamarin Studio, which are kind of the same thing, bringing us a IDE for C# development or Mono development or .NET Core development or whichever kind of flavor of C# you want to look at. And they're making it cross-platform. So there's Mac, Nix, various Nix support, and of course Windows support in there. So where it's really nice, especially for myself, I love IntelliJ. I use IntelliJ on a whenever I work in Java or Lua or a couple other programming languages, I use IntelliJ. When I work in HTML5 on my own stuff or JavaScript, I use WebStorm. So this brings a nice consistency to my world. So let's jump in without further ado. And this is the Project Rider welcome screen. So basically, here's where you create your first project or you load an existing one. We'll go ahead and create a new project right here. So just a new project. And your basic options right off the hop are .NET Console App, .NET Class Library, Empty Project, or DNX, which is .NET Core Cross-Platform Profile. So for .NET to target multiple platforms. I'm going to go ahead and stick with just normal .NET or Mono type development here, and we'll go with a console application. And then you just click Next, you pick your stuff. Now what's mildly disappointing here is you'll see this text down here is very, very tiny. Their high DPI support isn't perfect yet, and I'd like to see that come sometime in the future. But it's pretty rare. For the most part, everything works perfectly. It's just a couple tool tips here and there that aren't ideal for high DPI monitors. And just go ahead and create it. And here you see the main window for Project Rider. And if you've used any of their other IDEs, like I mentioned, IntelliJ or WebStorm, this is going to be immediately familiar to you. For example, this here is Project Rider, and let's just get some code open so you can see the code editing window right there. Okay, so here is Project Rider, here is WebStorm, and here is IntelliJ. So obviously, they're using the same basic core. Now, behind the scenes, it's a different parser, etc. going on. The refactoring code behind the scenes is definitely different. And one thing I have found, and I will say right up front, Project Rider performs so much better than Visual Studio. Things like code completion, refactoring, etc. in Visual Studio are starting to get slow. I hate to say it, I've been a Visual Studio fan for years, but it's getting slow and bloated. Even as my machines are getting faster and faster, Visual Studio itself is so ready for a rewrite. And it's refreshing to see how fast and responsive things are in Project Rider as a comparison. So just on the general editing level, the little things run so much faster, which is a good, definitely a positive. Now, if you've never used any of these IDEs before, this is going to be obviously new to you. But where they really shine is the code refactoring and code editing tools. They've got a bunch of things built in. So you've got a full editing environment here. You write your code, you debug your code, etc. So I can show you, for example, system.console.writeLine. So there you see, you've got your predictions on the one side, you've got code completion going on, We quickly come in there and close it out. You saw on the fly, we've got little warnings and editors going on. So we can see here, we've got 4 warnings. I don't actually know where they are. Now, I will warn again, that kind of stuff is proving to be a bit buggy right now. I've had it lock up once or twice, so it is an early access preview. Don't judge it based off of these inspections not working right, etc. So it is early access, and it does show at times. But here is a very, very simple thing. You can see if we got these underlines here, it's giving us code suggestions. So since this value never changed, it's saying to convert it to a constant, etc. So there is a behind-the-scenes inspection going on that's giving you coding recommendations. And this can all be turned off if they start to annoy you, but for the most part, they do a pretty solid job of it. And then setting a breakpoint, you just hit here in the margin, and then debug is simply hitting this guy. Your code goes off and runs, and here is a debug hits the breakpoint. You've got all your traditional breakpoint type stuff. You've got the ability to inspect inside. I don't have any classes. I can't really drill down, but so here args is a string. I can come up on it and I can do a evaluate, click, and then see it'll dig inside. So now it's an empty array, so there's not a lot to show, but you've got your real-time code evaluation. I could have typed in code, so we could have done it on the fly. Your various different breakpoints, conditional breakpoints. We can have it show our breakpoints, drill in, step over, run to cursor, etc. So your typical debugging stuff is all in here, and it's all also under your run command. You see, you can also do things like attach to a .NET process, etc. Now, one of those things that's really cool with Project Rider is it's all SLN based, so it uses the existing .NET solution files. There's no special project or anything, so your Visual Studio project code should just be able to open it up and you're off to the races. You don't need to have any, there's no dependencies. You have to have a .NET or Mono runtime of some kind on your machine, but that's it. You don't need to have Visual Studio or anything else, but it does use Visual Studio's solutions and project file formats, so it does make life a whole lot easier. Now, I haven't actually played with how well it works in both directions, but I assume that a Visual Studio project can open up a Project Rider project and vice versa, but I know it can go the one way, so it can definitely open up Visual Studio projects, and I see no reason why it wouldn't go the other way, but I don't want to say that it does or doesn't. So you've got your traditional debugging built in here. Otherwise, it's a pretty straightforward code editor, etc. Let me just go ahead and stop debugging. So it does have all those things that you're expecting. You've got your call stack, you've got your watches, breakpoints, evaluations, attached to existing process, etc. So all the things that you normally do in a debugging world, it's in here, it's implemented, and it works. And if you work in IntelliJ or WebStorm, it works consistently. So it's the same basic process, and your configuration and settings of the IDE are kind of on the same way. So next up, let's get a little bit into the coding stuff. And I've only really scratched the surface. This guy just came out yesterday, so I haven't used a ton of it. I'm getting a lot of this from prior IDE experience. But at the same time, you come into this world, it is immediately, once you know one NetBrains tool, you kind of know them all. So there is a bit of an intuitive leap. And the nice thing is, when you're in the middle of something, so here, let me just say I'm partially through it, and you see there's a squiggly line at the end because I didn't finish my line. Well, at any time you can do Alt-Enter and have contextual things come up, or you see the little hammer over here, it will show me what my options are. Now, I was actually expecting it to say semicolon missing, so I didn't really get it, but that Alt-Enter is very, very, very cool with IntelliJ because that basically brings up, give me all your suggestions at this point. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to class demo. Okay, so I can do something like, and some of the, again, this can be turned off. If this annoys the hell out of you, then I can understand why it would, but it can all be turned off if that's your preference. But let's say here, I'm creating a private int. Okay, so, and as you can see, the speed is brilliant. It's a lot faster than Visual Studio is for just popping up these suggestions, etc. already, and it's not complete. So let's say I was going to bring in a private called int I. Now there's a pretty much established convention now where private memory variables should be prefixed with an underscore, and publicly available should be capitalized. And so that is a convention that they're actually enforcing here in code. So I'm just going to go ahead and type I, and you'll see it automatically turn that into an underscore I. And again, you can turn this off if that is your desire. But now let's go back and change this guy over to, actually I'll do it. Yeah, let's leave that the way it was. All right. So here I am with this private, with this suggestion. You know, first off, see, it's also telling me, go to spectrum. that I've never used this variable. Pretty common functionality there. But I can come over here, and you see the refactoring things I can do on the fly. So I could convert it to a public, to a protected variable. I can provide formatting for it, which should pop out and give me more options. I can surround it with code block or snippets. These are also available up here. I'll go through those menus in a second. Or I can comment it out. So you see this quick contextual tools available for refactoring your code straight out in the legend there. But I'm going to just go ahead and convert this guy to public. All right, so it's now public. You'll see here that this is suggesting that I change the name to capital I. If I do an Alt-I, so there's that Alt-Enter in effect, and this brings up all of the logic that can be done with this code on the fly here, and you see it right at the top. So I can refactor, rename it to I, and then boom, it's done. So that Alt-Enter menu is awesome. At the same time, I can sit here, so the other option, I can encapsulate it. Ooh. All right, so here you're seeing it in it, early access thing. Yeah, it just blew something up over here too. So let me just not do that right now. So again, early access, you're gonna see some bugs. And I have mature products from them, and this stuff doesn't carry over. Their stuff is normally pretty rock solid. So that is early access in being demonstrated for sure. But it does have all of your tools in there for quickly refactoring things over, etc. Also, I could do, let's bring in a class. I don't know which. So we're going to implement iComparable. And you see right away, we get this not happy about this. So we just implemented an interface, but we didn't implement all the methods. So I could come in here and I could delegate it out, or I'm just going to implement it. And you see, boom, it automatically implements that particular method that we needed. And at the same time, I can click here and navigate up to the class we're implementing, which is obviously more useful if you're implementing your own code class, but you can easily navigate between the different things. And as you see here, editing is all tab based. We can come across no problem. I can also, while I'm here, I don't know if I can do it with Alt-Enter. I don't think I can, but let's see. Yeah, so you can bring in all these things, but I can also, in theory, so I'll come up here, it's in code instead. I can go to override, implement, and generate, and automatically get the methods and code from that I'm inheriting from the base class. So definitely nice when you're dealing with object-oriented coding here. It is very class aware. It is good for navigating up. We can also have it if you have multiple name collisions. It can show you all the different options available. Now, another thing that is really powerful in this in general is this search everywhere function. So if you need to quickly find, so we just implemented the method compare to, for example. I could come in here and go and you're seeing I'm getting all of the various, so see compare, and I can see there's compare to in my own project. I can change the scoping out right here. So there's this quick jump to anything, anywhere. So we've also got the actions that we can do on the fly, etc. So there's this nice quick resolve type variable or quick resolve functionality up here at the top right. Very useful for sure. Now another thing, and this is going to be questionable, not really questionable, it's one of those things you're going to have to get used to, but like code snippets. So we saw the code snippets. We can also come up here and go insert live template or surround with live template. So I'm going to surround this declaration. So I can go surround with live temp. Oop. So, all right, why are you breaking on me, little bugger? All right, broke before too. All right, so we won't show that right now, but basically that's your code snippets. But what we can also do is go, here's our variable I, and I can do a dot, and you notice there at the bottom there's that switch. Well, there's all kinds of these little, I forget exactly what their words for it is. There's a name for it, but you can do these auto resolve. So I can now come in here and go switch, and it will refactor my code to be a switch statement around the variable I was using. And there's a few dozen of these. There's things like dot for each. We'll do a for each around a collection, etc. And what is available will automatically, you just do dot and then start resolving the name, and it will be part of the, so let me show you again. The completion, when it's got like this symbol right down, it will automatically refactor your code along that line. Like I said, there are a few dozen of these things, are very quick editing snippets that you can do to really quickly edit code. But again, that's one of those things that's going to come in once you start getting more comfortable with the editor. And I'll come on back here and go back into the code, and you can see here is where the refactoring power, a lot of the resharper stuff has been folded into here. But you see, we saw this stuff for navigating through methods, etc., or class hierarchies. We've got code completion, code folding options, the templating stuff, commenting. We can reformat our code. We click that guy, and it will follow the rules, I believe. And then we got things like, that's completely unrelated. Or reformat options. Let's come on down, move statements around. We got code inspection, code cleanup, etc. So you got all of your code handling stuff in here. Now we've also got a refactoring tools, and the refactoring stuff is pretty cool. Now I don't think I actually have anything to refactor at this moment. So let's just bring our private int I. All right, go for refactor. So we got the it's contextual based off of what you can go ahead and do. So we can come in here. We could rename. So I select I and go refactor, rename that method, and have it go through and actually do things like refactoring comments that refer to that field as well. We can move copy, safe delete, which is what will go through other files and make sure that it's not in use, or we could extract it out as a variable. Yeah, not much of a demonstration there, but all your refactoring tools are built up here into your refactoring, and then all your code editing, changing, modifying stuff is built into this code guide right here. Build and run is pretty simple in the world of C#. It's in other IDEs that this stuff does a lot more, but you can do things like create run configurations. Your options are not nearly as evolved as they are in their other tools, at least as of yet. We've got version control, Git and Subversion support built right in out of the box. And coming back over here into the settings generally, and I actually haven't checked yet, but yep, we've also got plugin support and plugin repository support. So basically all of these various different tools and plugins can be easily brought in from the central repository to expand what Project Rider is actually capable of doing. So all of their IDEs support modules and plugins to a certain degree. Obviously this one is newish, so you're going to have a little bit less, but that's kind of it. Obviously, I'm not going into a huge amount of detail over how to use it. It's one of those things that you kind of use it for a lifetime and start to pick up the things it can do a little bit better. And it's also a little bit hard to demonstrate certain things right on the fly when some of it's not working, and some of it I actually need to set up some code so you can see it. Like I don't have a very advanced project here, so you're not seeing where the language really shines, where the refactoring tools really shine, etc. So unfortunately, my demonstration isn't demoing that as well as it could have. But this is essentially Project Rider. And again, if you're looking at this as someone who has used IntelliJ, WebStorm, PHP Storm, RubyMine, etc., you look at it and go, okay, yeah, that is the same thing, but for .NET. And that is, frankly, a good thing. So you sit there and go, well, why would I use this other than Visual Studio? Well, as I mentioned earlier, the performance is way better. The refactoring tools are better. They're basically comparable to having ReSharper installed on Visual Studio. The big thing, though, is probably the fact that you can run this thing cross-platform as opposed to just on Windows. And it is less bloated. Eventually, it will probably be more stable. It is definitely faster to work with. And it's nice for someone like me who uses a number of different languages. Well, I now am starting to get a number of different IDEs that use all of the same shortcuts, speed-ups, etc. So I am equally productive regardless to which language I use. And that sounds like a small thing, but in reality, it's huge. Once you get used to a set of tools that do everything across different platforms, you start to really, really appreciate it. And it's like when I used to use Visual Studio only, and I'd go to another tool, I'd be like, oh, I hate this. I can't stand this. Well, now I'm not having that problem because no matter which platform, or which language, or which tool I go to, with this suite from NetBrains, I always have a very consistent environment, an environment I actually happen to enjoy. And there's a bunch of stuff on top that I'm not showing immediately. Things like I can go into full screen mode, which is, well, obviously full screen. I can go into presentation mode, which immediately makes things more readable. It's weirdly bugged for code size. I don't know what's going on. That's something that's happened in most recent versions. But generally, it would also make, see, as you can see, this is a high DPI problem, but it's turned all things that aren't code related into very, very, very easily read. And you can actually turn it on so that your code size changes with a wheel. But this is a high DPI bug. It should actually be showing the code in high detail too. And that's something that happened in the IntelliJ platform, a few versions of code. Let's get out of X. And then, of course, you've also got this kind of a neat concept, the distraction-free mode, which strips out all the user interface, just throws your code in front of you. So if you like a minimalistic coding environment, go into distraction-free mode coupled with full screen mode, and you basically just have a window with your code in it, which for certain people is a very, very, very lovely thing. And then you just got your quick inspections going on over here. That's, showing you where the problems, warnings, errors, etc. are. So this alone for certain people is a godsend. And we exit full screen this way and exit distraction mode that way. So it is a cool family of IDEs, and it's nice to see the C# one getting some love. Again, this is early access right now, and you can get access to it by subscribing for more details. And I just signed up a day or two ago and immediately got the link. So I imagine if you want to get access to it, you just go to their webpage. I'll link it down below, fill it in, and then you can immediately download it. It's not ready for prime time. There are bugs, there are issues, but given the fact that it uses standard solution files, you got really nothing to lose, even if you're using it in a production environment, to be honest. I can't see it corrupting your code, and we're all using version control at this point anyways for backups, aren't we? So anyways, that is Project Rider. It's really exciting. I don't know where this is going to turn out in terms of cost or release date or any of that stuff, but it's definitely a project to keep an eye on, especially if you are a C# developer working on Windows or Unix, because this guy is hands down already, no offense to MonoDevelop or Xamarin, but this is the best choice, in my opinion, for developing in .NET or C# on those particular platforms, even with its bugs and glitches. It is just so fast and performs so well and has the industry's best refactoring tools. It's definitely one to check out. So that's Project Rider. Hope you enjoyed that. See y'all later.